Hi, welcome to Pin Zone. I'm Fred Pin and I've got a problem with my driver's power window. It won't operate. It has had a bit of intermittent problems in the past and I wasn't sure if it was the master switch or the motor. While investigating what the problem could be, I was told that if you replace the motor you should replace the master switch, because if it's the faulty motor, which in this case it is a faulty motor, I've isolated that, you should replace the master switch, because the motors can burn out because the auto up and down on the master switch can fail and just keeps applying power to the motor when it's fully up or fully down, and the motors burn out. I don't know if the motor is burnt out, but I know it's the motor that is faulty. Possibly I can service the motor and keep it as a spare. But I have purchased pre-owned parts because new parts would have been considerably more expensive. So I do have a pre-owned master switch and a pre-owned motor. It's not necessarily the best scenario because I could be inheriting future problems with parts that have been used, especially on a driver's side that is continually used. But it's a good economical way to get my vehicle up and running, and maybe possibly I'll try not to use the auto up and down as frequent, but that's just one of those things that you don't know until it fails. Hopefully I can demonstrate the process of replacing the motor. There's different methods in replacing the motor. Some people take the whole regulator out. Some people leave the window regulator in situ and remove the motor. I'm going to try the latter and just remove the motor. If I get into difficulties, I'll just have to remove the regulator also and then unbolt the motor. So hopefully this will be successful. No smashed glass, please. And we'll try and take this one step at a time. If you are going to attempt this yourself, I do suggest you gather as much information as you can, get your tools ready, be prepared, have the parts ready, and preferably do it undercover. And keep yourself cool, keep the vehicle out of the weather, because you might end up having to take longer than you thought. So let's give this a go. I've been told it's not difficult, it's more tedious than anything. And just call me Mr. Tedious if you want. Clickety click. Don't wear that switch out, Fred. Don't wear that switch out. I picked up this set of tools for removing panels and trim off vehicles, and on eBay they're cheap as chips, so it's a great investment for your vehicle. They're plastic, different assortment of prying tools. You also get some of these sort of tools that can get under the push-on rivets that you can pry off. There's also pliers that can actually pull apart a panel from the bodywork. And yeah, just useful tools to have that could make your life easier. In the past I'd use screwdrivers with cloth around them, but this is a better method. Not sure what I paid, might have been $25, $29 and free postage, so keep an eye out. They vary in price, but I think they're pretty much all the same. You can buy them with fewer or more tools in the collection. So I'll be using at least one or two of these for the panel and some trim, and pretty much we'll just need screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, sockets, and let's give it a go. On the armrest there's a Phillips head screw hidden under that plastic cap, so I'm just going to remove that cap. I've got a little prying tool, could use a screwdriver. That lifts up. Phillips screwdriver to undo. And just put all these parts in a safe place. Just going to use one of these prying tools. Just get a start on the plastic trim here that holds the switches, master switch. It's just held in with some clips. Once you get it started, you can get your fingers under there, pull it off. You've got two connector blocks. This one's for the power windows. This one is for the side mirrors. For the side mirror connector, just squeeze the lock tab, pull it out. For the power window connector, there's also a little tab you need to push in. Push and pull up at the same time. Such as that. So that's the two connectors removed. That's the master switch fitted to the trim. That's the power mirror socket, and there's the power window socket. Not as easy to see because of the lighting, but there is another plastic cap in the handle recess with a Phillips screw. And I'm going to use another pry tool to get behind the plastic trim. Start from the top. Work my way round. And there we have it. I'm also going to remove the tweeter cover. This tweeter speaker cover. Now that I've got it at that stage, I'm just going to start taking the door panel trim off. At this point, I'm going to pry the plastic cover away from the door. It is held on with a tacky sort of butane substance. I'll just have a little trimmer in case I need to help cut it. Try not to get dust and dirt on the butane sealant because it would reduce it being tacky. Just going to use some tape to hold this out of the way. Here's a plastic cover which I'm going to remove just to give me a bit better access. I don't know if it's going to be beneficial, but might as well move it now while I can. So, don't know what that does. This is the power connector for the motor, so I'm just going to disconnect that and just tuck it back inside. I'm going to use a combination of tools to remove the motor. One is a little mirror, so I can inspect inside to see where the fasteners are. Also going to use a small Phillips bit on a ratchet to help take this fasteners out. I also have this angle Phillips screwdriver, which may be useful because it's a shorter profile. I'm just using my mobile phone camera just to try and show you where those 3 mounting screws are. You can just see them in frame. I'm using a light inside the door panel too, so I'm just going to try and maybe keep the light in there and point. Ta-da! First screw out. I love the sound when the screw or the bolt just cracks open. You know you've got it. I've loosened the 3rd screw. Stubby screwdriver. I think there's enough room for one of these. Number 3. So now I need to loosen the window regulator bolts, not taking them right out, just loosening them so I can push the regulator away from the door panel. Okay, I've just taken out 2 more of these screws for the regulator. I've left one in there. I've put a block of timber in there to help pry the regulator away, and now it's just a matter of pulling the motor out. There it is, one motor. This is the old motor. You can see you've got your gear with a little shaft sticking out. That little shaft fitted into the hub on the regulator. So the replacement motor, I'll put a bit of grease on there and hopefully keep it lubricated and turning freely. Switching back to my mobile phone camera, the motor sat in here, and the little pinion guide or shaft sat in there. So the motor goes between the door panel and the regulator, and then there's a little pin on the shaft that locates in that raised hub, and there's just a hole there that the shaft fits into. I've got 2 screws holding the motor on, so I'm just going to put the screws back in for the regulator so I can draw it back in, secure it back in place. check again the position of the motor with my mirror. Okay, I'll try and put the third screw in. Third screw is started. Just try and tighten them all up now. Okay, that's the motor secured again with the 3 screws, and also the window regulator has been secured. There is a good argument, and maybe I'll consider it if I ever do it again, is to replace these Phillips with a hex head, because I think a hex head would be more secure. It's just so tedious trying to do up the Phillips drive or the Phillips heads. Let's just put it all back together. Put the motor connector back on. Just going to secure the motor connector with a wire tie, cable tie, trim it back. So as you're putting the liner back on, just follow, or try and follow the original circuit that it was stuck to. Make sure the wires are in the right place. Let's put the speaker back. Just orientate the speaker to the original position and make sure you put the connector back in, otherwise you'll be wondering why you're not getting sound out of that speaker, and you wouldn't want to have to repeat this process, because as much as I do like working on my vehicle, I don't really want to have to do things twice or 3 times because I've forgotten to connect something. Okay, that's secure. The connector is in. I'm just going to put that bracket back into that position. So let us connect the switch. Put the ignition on. That works. Don't forget to put the plastic panel that you took out back. I forgot. Okay. And also don't forget to take your headlamp out that you left inside the door before you go too far down the road. And anyway, that's this. Just double check you've still got all the little plastic clips in place. Some stay behind on the door. You can remove those and put them back on the back of the door panel. Pull the wires through. Take down the top. Just double check that the little clips are lining up with the holes, which they are, and then basically knock it in. That seems secure. Just going to put the tweeter speaker cover back on. That's back on. Notice how these are both blue. These back covers are blue. That was one of the questions I was asked when I phoned to That was one of the questions I was asked when I phoned inquiring about the part, and they said, what colour is the back of your switch? So whether that determines the year, I don't know, but obviously these do match. I'm just going to unscrew the existing one and reinstall the replacement. There's 3 Phillips holding it in. There's a little tab on the top just where the power mirror connector is. Power windows, so don't lose that tab. Just take note of how it came out, because it's like an offset little, I don't know, bent, kinked. So removing the screws, this just pulls out like that. There's the driver's side switch. Apparently this is the switch that can fail, and on the auto up and down it can remain on and just continue to power up the motor and burn the motors out. That's what I was told. So I'm in the shadows a bit. New switch just goes directly in place. I'm just securing the new master switch, or the replacement master switch I should say. So that's firm. Just pushes back into place. Make sure it's just flush. Also, I just need to put the screw back in the recess there, and also on the handle with the trim. Screw in, put that tab back down. Same with here. Resecure the handle, push that tab back down and put the trim in. And just double check on the other side how it goes in. that should be the installation complete. Let's test it again. Just check the other windows first. They all work. Now the drivers. Okay, that is working. The auto up and down is working. When it reaches the top, I can hear the switch click. And apparently when you stop hearing that little click, that could be the beginning of trouble, or maybe it's too late because you're in trouble, and it's continually supplying power. So something to keep in mind. So that was my recommendation, or what was recommended to me was to replace the master switch and the motor. The motor was faulty. I haven't double checked my existing switch, but I know it doesn't click that second time, so it's possible that the master switch and motor are both faulty. Well, I think that was a success. I purchased the replacement parts, managed to install the replacement motor without taking out the complete window regulator, and it's operating fine. I've replaced the master switch. Again, I've used pre-owned parts, hopefully save some money and learnt a bit more about my vehicle. I hope you found this video informative and useful for your own needs if you need to replace your window motor. It is something that you could do on your own. There are a few precautions you need to take. The regulator is under tension with that spring, so you have to be careful with that, and also just making sure you've got the motor incorrectly with the gears meshing, the wires reconnected, and in my case make sure you put in the little plastic trim, take out your light from the door panel. So in 6 months time, when I was looking for my light, I would have gone, where's that light gone? I don't know where these things are. They disappear on you, they just go. So thanks again, thank you for watching this episode, and subscribe, hit that reminder button, and see you in the future. Thanks guys.